They still say that if you stand before the gates of Allensworth High at midnight, you will hear 3 drum beats echoing from inside the abandoned school. The first drum calls your name, the second opens the door for those who have vanished, and the third will keep you there forever. 17 years ago, a number of Allensworth High students disappeared in a single night without leaving a trace. No bodies were ever found, and no one could explain what had happened. Since then, the school has been sealed shut, left for moss and darkness to devour. But last year, the famous ghost hunting livestream group NightChaser Crew decided to ignore every warning. They slipped inside to broadcast an all-night stream. They thought they'd find nothing more than a few gusts of wind, a few creaking doors, and a bit of atmosphere for the views. Yet, when the first drum beat sounded, the live stream became a nightmare that millions would never forget. For went in only to walk out, but did they really escape? What happened inside Allensworth High? And why, 1 year later, did the NightChaser Crew's YouTube channel suddenly go live again, showing an image that left the entire town frozen in silence? Ethan Miller set his laptop on the table, plugged in the charger, and opened the familiar OBS software. The clock in the bottom right corner of the screen read 9:37 p.m. Friday night, the night hundreds of thousands of NightChaser Crew fans had been waiting for all week. The small third-floor apartment in Columbus, Ohio, was bathed in red and purple LED light, the group's trademark glow. Beside the table, Ava Scott was adjusting her hair, eyes fixed on the preview screen to make sure the camera caught her best angle. Ryan Carter, the wiry-haired editor, sat with headphones on, muttering while checking the mic levels. Logan Pierce, the blonde kid, was fiddling with a brand new drone he'd bought just a week ago. Chloe Reed, the newest member, on the channel for only about 3 months, was doing a quick live stream on her phone, showing fans a glimpse of the behind-the-scenes chaos before the main broadcast began. Ethan tapped the mic. Check, 1, 2, 3, we good. All good, Ryan said, eyes still locked on the Soundwave display. At 9:45 sharp, Ethan hit the go live button. YouTube's interface flared to life, the viewer count climbing fast. 12,300, 15,400, 18,900. The chat box on the right scrolled like a hurricane. Yo, Night Chasers. Ethan grinned, his deep, charismatic voice cutting through the buzz. We're back for another Friday night hunt, and tonight, we want you to decide where we go next. The chat exploded. Haunted hospitals in Pennsylvania, a hotel in West Virginia, a famous cemetery in New Orleans. But one name began appearing over and over. Allensworth High School. Ava read a comment aloud. Go to Allensworth. Lost kids. Creepy AF. Ryan frowned. I've heard of that place. Isn't it the school that shut down after a mass student disappearance? Logan opened his second laptop and typed Allensworth High School missing students into Google. Within seconds, old news headlines filled the screen. 2006, 6 students vanish. Without a trace from Allensworth High. No leads in mysterious Ohio high school disappearances. Parents demand answers as police close case. Ethan's lips curled into a half smile. Sounds perfect. Ava hesitated. You're sure? It sounds like some kind of curse. That's exactly why the fans will love it, Ethan replied. We've been to an abandoned morgue, an empty shipyard tunnel. What's scarier than a high school? The chat roared. Do IT, Allensworth. Take us there tonight. Ethan looked around the group. Vote. Who's in? Ryan raised his hand reluctantly. Logan shrugged and raised his too. Chloe's eyes lit up, and she was the first to lift her hand high. Ava stayed silent for a few seconds before sighing. Fine, but if anything happens, it's gonna get us 1 million views. Ethan cut in. About 20 minutes later, the group had scoured the internet for everything they could find on Allensworth High. Google Maps showed a 3-red brick building with shattered windows and weeds waist high. Old news articles detailed how, in October 2006, 6 juniors vanished in a single afternoon. No bodies, no security footage. Police closed the case in 2008, Ryan read aloud. Cause, unknown. Some said they ran away, others thought they were kidnapped, but there are ghost sightings. Ava bit her lip, and since then, the school's been abandoned. The chat kept chanting. Someone even dropped a blog link, claiming to be from a former student, saying that every full moon, the drum from the music room still beats 3 times, just like during marching band practice. Ethan leaned back in his chair, Perfect setup. Tomorrow night, we're going there. Full night live stream, no cuts. Fans will lose their minds. Logan grinned. Or we will. Ava muttered. That night, the group packed gear, chest-mounted GoPros, shotgun mics, flashlights, backup batteries, a laptop for monitoring the live feed, and Logan's drone. Chloe, ever the decorator, brought candles and small LED lights to set the mood. Before ending the stream, Ethan stared straight into the camera. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, NightChaser Crew enters Allensworth High. You'll see what we see, if you dare. The chat erupted one last time before the screen faded out, but right after the stream ended, Ryan's laptop flickered. A browser tab opened on its own, showing an old photo, the 2006 graduating class. In the back row, between two boys, stood a long-haired girl in an Allensworth High uniform. The face was Chloe's. Ethan woke at 9 a.m. to his phone ringing non-stop. It was Ryan. Have you watched the end of last night's stream? Ryan's voice was tight. Not yet. Why? My laptop. It pulled up a class photo from 2006, and in it was Chloe. Ethan sat up fast. You're joking. No, I saved it. I'm sending it now. Look closely. Ethan opened his laptop and clicked the file Ryan had sent. On screen was a group of students in blue and white uniforms, standing in 3 rows in the Allensworth High courtyard. In the back row, between two boys, was a long-haired girl with pale skin and a faint smile. She looked 90% like Chloe, not just the face, but the eyes staring straight through the lens. Ethan zoomed in. No signs of editing. The photo was seamless, but the date was 2006, when Chloe would have been 6 years old. That afternoon, the group met at Maple Brew Cafe in downtown Columbus. Logan brought his laptop. Ryan carried a stack of printed articles. Ava looked from the photo to Chloe. Chloe, be honest, did you ever go to Allensworth? Never. Chloe frowned. I was born and raised in Dayton. I've never even been there, but the resemblance is insane. Logan said, maybe a distant relative, or a coincidence. Chloe cut him off. There are millions of lookalikes in the world. Ethan placed his hands on the table. Coincidence or not, the fans will go nuts if they find out. But before we make it content, we need to dig deeper. I want to know what happened in 2006. Ryan nodded, pulling out old news clippings. 6 students vanished on October 17, 2006. No trace. Police searched everywhere, even the lake by the school. Nothing. That day, the marching band had a rehearsal. Several students said they heard 3 drum beats coming from the music room, even though no one was inside. Ava shivered. And every year since, around mid-October, people nearby hear the drum again. Logan added, there's a rumor, if you're inside the school, after the 3rd drum beat, you never leave. Ethan decided, we need to find someone who went there. Ryan called a friend who freelanced as a reporter. An hour later, they had a contact. Mark Jennings, 34, former Allensworth student, still living in town. He agreed to meet, but only if there was no filming, no recording. Allensworth was about a 2-hour drive from Columbus. As they left the suburbs behind, the houses thinned, giving way to dry, yellow cornfields in late autumn. Mark met them at Diner 66, a roadside eatery with a flickering neon sign. Tall and thin, graying hair, worn denim jacket. His eyes kept darting toward the windows, as if afraid someone might be watching. You want to know about Allensworth High? Mark began once they sat. I was there from 2004 to 2007. I knew the 6 who disappeared. They were in the class next to mine. Were you at school that day? Ethan asked. Mark nodded. I heard the drum 3 times, each beat long and heavy, like it came from under the ground. After the 3rd, I saw them, 6 students standing at the end of the hallway, completely still. Then they vanished. Vanished how? Ava asked. Like fog dissolving into the air. Mark said slowly. And I never stepped foot in that school again. Ryan glanced at Ethan, eyes saying, this is gold. But Ethan only asked, do you know anything about a girl who looks like Chloe? And showed him the photo. Mark's eyes widened. That's Lillian Hart. She was the cheer captain in 2006. And he hesitated. She was one of the 6 who disappeared. The table went silent. Chloe swallowed hard. But she looks exactly like me. Mark nodded. Not dissimilar. Like an exact copy. Leaving the diner, The group headed to the Allensworth Town Library, a small red brick building with the smell of old paper and the low hum of ceiling fans. The librarian, an elderly woman named Margaret, led them to the newspaper archives. Ryan flipped through copies of the Allensworth Gazette until he found the October 18, 2006 edition. On the front page was a photo of the 6 missing students, Lillian Hart smiling, her eyes identical to Chloe's. Ava pointed to the corner of the photo. "Look, behind them, what is that?" Ethan leaned closer. Behind the row of students was a shadowy figure, taller than the rest, shaped like a person in a long coat, but with a face completely black dot. Margaret spoke softly. "Some say it's just a stain on the photo, but I've worked here for over 40 years, and trust me, before those 6 vanished, no one had ever seen that shadow." By the time they left the library, the sky was turning orange. Autumn wind whipped through the empty streets, swirling leaves into tight little circles. Ethan said, "Tomorrow, we go in. But tonight, we show the fans what we've found." Chloe stayed quiet, her eyes still fixed on Lillian Hart's face. It felt like she was staring at herself. But from another world, the grey van of the NightChaser Crew rolled down the cracked road toward the grounds of Allensworth. High as the sky shifted into the deep orange red of sunset, the autumn air was cold, and thick grey clouds bunched together. Overhead, promising a grim night ahead, Ethan sat in the driver's seat, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror to make sure everyone was ready. Chloe was in the passenger seat, silently holding her brand new handheld camera, already set to record in 4K. In the back, Ryan checked the drone, Logan clipped a mic to his shirt, and Ava scrolled through her phone, answering fan comments before they went live. "Remember," Ethan said in a low voice, "once we're inside, don't split up for too long. If you see anything strange, call it out immediately. You make it sound like we're trekking into the Amazon." Logan smirked, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. The school gates came into view, massive steel doors. The green paint peeled away in wide flakes, revealing rust beneath. The sign above hung crooked, only a few faded letters still readable. "Allensworth High." Ethan stopped the van and aimed the camera toward the gate. "NightChaser Crew has arrived at Allensworth High. You're watching live. This is where 6 students vanished without a trace in 2006, and maybe, tonight, we'll find out why." The livestream chat instantly exploded. "Zoom in on that gate. It's creepy as hell. I hear metal creaking. Is that the wind or something else? Get out of there. That place isn't safe." Ethan and Logan pushed the gates open. A long metallic shriek tore through the air, the sound of rusted steel grinding, like the cry of something trapped for years. A gust of wind funneled through the gap, carrying the stale scent of damp and dust. The campus lay in the dim light of dusk. A row of maple trees along the path had shed nearly all their leaves, skeletal branches stretching upward like blackened fingers. In the distance loomed the main building, red brick stained with decades of weather, many windows shattered, hollow like empty eyes staring back. "Drone ready," Ryan said, sending the small craft buzzing into the air. The monitor displayed a bird's-eye view, the football field, the classroom wings, and shadow standing in a second-floor doorway. "Wait, hold on, zoom in," Ava said, pointing. Ryan zoomed, but the feed instantly glitched into static. When the picture cleared, the doorway was empty. "I saw it. Someone was standing there. Replay that now." No joke. There was a figure. The group stepped inside. Leaves crunched sharply underfoot. Logan's flashlight swept down a long hallway, peeling white paint. Rows of dented lockers. Classroom doors chained shut. Chloe pushed open the door to the music room. The air was heavy with dust, the instrument racks bare. In the corner sat a large bass drum, the surface worn but still taut. "Fans want you to hit it." Ava read from the chat. "No," Ethan said firmly, "we're not triggering anything." But as they stepped back into the hall, a drumbeat echoed from behind them, deep, heavy, drawn out. Ryan spun around. The drum sat untouched. "You guys heard that?" Ethan asked the live streamer, loud and clear. "With headphones, it sounds like it's right behind me." A cold draft whispered through the corridor, carrying a faint, shapeless hiss, almost like a voice. Chloe felt the prickling sensation of someone standing directly behind her. She turned nothing but the yawning dark. Her heartbeat quickened. Ethan led them deeper, toward the stairwell to the second floor. Each step groaned under their weight. The drone hovered ahead, but its feed began to glitch, black and white static slicing through the image, signals dropping. Ryan muttered, fiddling with the antenna. Then the feed went completely black. The moment they stepped onto the second floor, the chat erupted again. Someone's following you, behind you now. Oh my God, I just saw a schoolgirl in a blue and white uniform. Ethan swung the camera back. Only the empty hallway, lined with shut doors. No one spoke. Wind whistled through the broken panes, murmuring like hushed voices. The last traces of sunset died, swallowed by thick darkness. We need to find room 4, Ethan said. Mark said, that's where most of the strange stuff happened. But before they reached it, a soft, high-pitched giggle, unmistakably a child's, floated from the far end of the hall, then stopped abruptly. The sound froze them in place. It didn't echo like something far away. It was close, right ahead, in the dark. Chloe swept her flashlight side to side, the beam catching faded door numbers and chipped paint. No one said anything. Right, Ava's voice shook. No, Logan said, still staring into the shadows. That wasn't the wind. Ethan took a deep breath. Camera raised. Let's keep moving. Don't stand still. The hallway seemed endless. Dust curled into their footsteps, swirling in the flashlight beams. Some doors stood slightly ajar, revealing broken desks and mold-stained chalkboards inside. Ryan read, from the chat, behind Ava, someone just walked past. Zoom in on the right side. Oh my God, I saw a hand on her shoulder. Ava spun around, but only Logan stood a few feet back. Don't scare me, she said with a forced laugh, her hand tightening around her phone. Finally, they reached a dark wooden door. The tarnished nameplate still read room 4. The handle was rusted, but the metal around the lock looked oddly clean, as if touched recently. This is it, Ethan whispered. Mark said, this is where it all started. Chloe brought her camera close to the lock, capturing every detail. The air felt thick, as if something waited beyond. Logan tried the handle. It clicked softly, and the door swung open into darkness. Dust filled the air. Tattered curtains swayed gently, though the windows were sealed. Crooked class photos hung on the walls, their glass cracked. Ava shone her light on the teacher's desk. A thick, dark brown journal lay there, its rusted lock broken. A diary, Logan murmured, flipping through pages. He read in a low voice, do not stay after the third drumbeat. Ryan swallowed hard. I don't like that. The chat poured in. Get out of there. They warned you. There's a girl at the window behind you. Ethan turned the camera toward the glass. Only grimy reflections of their lights. But as he moved the lens away, Chloe screamed, Ethan, look again. In the reflection, a figure now stood among them. When they spun around, nothing. The air grew dense. Slow, deliberate footsteps echoed in the hall, then stopped right outside room 4. Logan peeked through the doorway. No one there, but when he turned back, the diary lay open to a different page, smeared in dark red ink. First time. Chloe's voice trembled. That was the first drum, wasn't it? Ethan nodded slowly. Yes, and that was only the first. The drum beat faded, and the silence in room 4 stretched until it became almost unbearable to breathe. Ava gripped the strap of her backpack as if it were the last solid thing she could hold on to. Ryan bent over his phone, reading the live comments to steady himself. I just saw someone standing in the left corner of the screen, but now they're gone. This group is finished. 3 drumbeats mean it's over. Leave now. We should, Chloe began, but her flashlight flickered out, swallowing everything in darkness. A dry clack echoed from the far corner of the room, as if something heavy had just been set on the floor. Logan's beam swung toward the sound, just in time for them to see a school chair slide away from its desk and turn toward them. Nobody spoke, but everyone stepped back. Then, from the hallway, came the sound of small, steady footsteps. A child's steps, growing nearer. That's not the wind, Ryan hissed. It's getting closer. Ethan signaled for them to turn off their flashlights, leaving only the dim glow from the camera. The screen captured the black, endless hallway. A small, shadowy figure darted across, then vanished. Did you see that? Ryan asked into the lens. But the live chat was nothing but strings of terrified emojis. The footsteps stopped, replaced by the sound of a child's laughter, high-pitched, but drawn out unnaturally, as though warped on an old tape. Logan stepped into the hallway. The moment he crossed the threshold, an icy wind struck his face, carrying the scent of damp rot and rusted metal. He swept his light to the left, empty. To the right, a small shadow stood still, shorter than an adult, facing away from him. Ethan, Logan whispered. Ethan stepped up, raising the camera. But as the beam passed over it, the shadow disappeared, leaving only the empty corridor. Somewhere far away, a door hinge creaked, then slammed shut. Back in room 4. The diary on the desk was gone. In its place lay a single yellowed sheet of paper, and on it, a tiny handprint stamped in what looked like dried blood. "Does anyone feel colder than before?" Ava asked. She rubbed her arms, her skin prickling. Behind Ava, the chat exploded. Ethan spun the camera, catching a fleeting white blur by the window. At that exact moment, the drum sounded again, deeper, heavier, making the glass panes tremble. "That's the second time," Chloe said, panic rising. "It's faster than I thought." "One more." Ryan swallowed hard. "If the diary's right," Logan's jaw tightened. "We're leaving. We're not waiting for the third." They stepped out into the hallway, only to see the far end swallowed in unnatural darkness. The camera caught it clearly, desks and chairs stacked to form a barricade, and beyond them, faint silhouettes of schoolchildren in faded uniforms, standing still, staring straight at them. No one spoke. The figures did not move, like a living photograph, but the pressure in the air was suffocating. Ava clung to Ryan's sleeve. "Back the other way," Logan murmured, eyes locked on the shadows. They turned and hurried toward the stairs. Each step on the damp tiles echoed like a warning. But as they reached the corner, a classroom door on their left slowly creaked open. A cold mist spilled from the gap, thin as smoke. Ethan glanced at the live stream. Over 7,000 viewers now. Comments flashing by. "Don't go in there. Something's right at the door. Lynn, look inside." Lynn, silent since the start, stood closest to the door. She tilted her head, as if listening to a voice from within. "Lynn." No, Ava grabbed her arm, but Lynn gently pulled free and stepped inside. The door shut behind her with a sharp click. Logan and Ryan rushed forward, pounding on it, but it wouldn't budge. Ethan pointed the camera through the small window. The room inside was empty, except for a single desk in the center. On it lay a large class photo from the year 2006. Ethan zoomed in, his heart stopping as he saw Lynn inside the picture, wearing the same uniform as the others, seated in the second row, smiling at the camera. From somewhere deep in the room came a whisper, so close it brushed the camera's mic. "Stay with me." Ethan instinctively stepped back, but his eyes stayed on the glass. A blurred female student appeared behind the photo, her face obscured like it was shrouded in mist. Slowly, she lifted her head, revealing deep black hollows where her eyes should have been. Logan yanked Ethan away. "Go, we can't open it." They sprinted for the stairs. But as they hit the third step, the second drumbeat roared again, not just from the music room, but from the walls, the ceiling, the floor. Each sound vibrated through the air, numbing their ears. A single hallway bulb above them flared, then died, leaving nothing but thick darkness. In the faint camera light, pale white shapes emerged along the stairs, pairs of small hands gripping the rail, climbing upward. "They're coming up," Ava screamed, stumbling into Ryan. Logan shoved him toward the side corridor. They burst into another classroom, slammed the door, and piled desks against it. But outside the windows, there was no schoolyard. Instead, another hallway stretched into fog, lined on both sides with rows of motionless students, all facing the glass. Ryan whispered, "Where?" "Not on the first floor anymore." Ethan panned the camera. A new comment froze his blood. "Count. Again. There are only 3 of you now." He turned. Ava, Ryan, Logan. Chloe was gone. The second drumbeat stopped. Silence fell, but in it, faintly, came the sound of children singing, soft, tuneless, seeping out from the very walls. They stood close together, breath quick and uneven. The children's song still drifted through the air, sometimes near, sometimes far, as if dozens of voices sang together, offbeat, yet merging into a warped, uncanny melody. Ethan turned the camera toward the window. The fog-filled hallway was still there, the motionless silhouettes of students standing in place. But this time, one of them began to move. Step by step, it approached the window, a hand pressing against the glass, leaving a faint, damp print. Logan cursed under his breath, backing away. "We need to get out of this room now." Ryan rushed to the main door, pulling away the chairs and desks that had been wedged against it. He turned the lock. But when the door swung open, the hallway outside was gone, replaced by a music room with snare drums arranged in a perfect circle. No one had time to react before the sound began again. Thud, thud, louder than ever before. The third drum beat. The single light in the room flickered wildly, their shadows stretching unnaturally long across the wall before twisting into the shapes of uniformed students. A cold wind whipped past them, carrying the smell of moldy paper and damp cloth. In the center of the drum circle, a figure began to form, a long-haired girl in an Allensworth High uniform, head tilted, her smile crooked. She held a small drum, tapping in perfect rhythm with their pounding hearts. "Welcome to class." Her voice echoed, as if spoken by many mouths at once. The wall behind her dissolved like smoke, revealing a full classroom bathed in pale white light. Students sat neatly at their desks, faces chalk white, eyes black as pits. At the back row, Ethan froze when he saw Chloe and Lynn sitting there, in uniform, smiling at him. Ava grabbed Ethan's hand, pulling him back. "No, don't look." But Ryan had already stepped forward, his eyes glazed as if hypnotized. A girl at the front desk raised her hand, inviting him to sit. He let go of Ava's hand and walked toward the empty seat. Logan lunged to pull him back, but his hand passed through icy nothingness. Ryan was gone. A student now sat in the chair, wearing the uniform, his face identical to Ryan's but with dead, vacant eyes. Ethan screamed, but the sound seemed to vanish, swallowed by the air. The long-haired girl stepped to the front of the class, lifting her drum. Time for roll call. She read each name, and with every name called, that person vanished from the group and reappeared inside the classroom, dressed in uniform. Logan was called first. Then Ethan. Ava sobbed, clinging desperately to Ethan's arm, but when she looked again, she was alone in the drum circle. Darkness surged in like a wave. Ava ran to the door, slamming her fists against it, but now it opened onto a pit hallway with no visible end. From the distance came the sound of synchronized footsteps, dozens of them uniform shoes tapping in perfect unison. The drumming stopped. The long-haired girl lowered her head and whispered, "You'll stay here." Ava screamed, shut her eyes, and hurled herself into the hallway. When she opened them again, she was standing in the schoolyard under the moonlight. The rusted gate was ajar, the wind whistling through it in long, drawn-out wails. There was no one beside her. She ran, not daring to look back. But behind her, through the still-running Livestream camera, the NightChaser Crew could be seen sitting in the 2006 classroom, staring straight at the lens and smiling. The night wind slapped Ava's face, so cold it burned. Her ragged breaths drowned out the sound of her sneakers pounding on cracked cement. Ahead, the rusted gate loomed, slightly open, but the closer she ran, the farther it seemed, as if retreating like a mirage. She blinked hand. Suddenly she was back where she started, standing in the schoolyard, at the base of the steps leading into the main building. "No, no, this can't," she whispered, her voice trembling. The sound of uniformed footsteps came again from behind, steady, synchronized. She turned. Sharply, in the pale moonlight, dozens of students emerged from the main doors. Every face was the same, white, lifeless skin, eyes black and hollow. At the front of the line were Lynn, Chloe, Ryan, Logan, and Ethan, all in Allensworth High uniforms, books in hand. Smiling, Ava screamed and sprinted toward the building on the left, praying for another way out. The side door was slightly open, darkness spilling out from within. She turned on her phone's flashlight, its trembling beam cutting through a hallway lined with student lockers, the paint peeling away. On each locker door, someone had drawn a circular drum symbol. Beneath each a name was scrawled in white chalk. Ava read quickly. Chloe Miller, -2006. Ryan Carter, 2023. Logan Peraseta, -2023. And then, Ava Collins, 2023. She staggered back, her chest tightening. "No, I'm still alive. I'm still here." From the far end of the hallway came singing the same warped children's melody she'd been hearing all night. But now, it was just one voice, her own. Ava spun and ran, slamming her shoulder into a locker and knocking. It opened. A dust-covered graduation cap fell out, along with an old class photo from Allensworth High. Every student stared at the camera with stiff, frozen smiles. In the back row, Ava saw herself sitting between Ryan and Ethan, wearing the uniform, her eyes empty. She dropped the photo and kept running. The emergency exit at the end of the hall came into view. She shoved it open. This time it gave way. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of grass from outside. Ava bolted across the overgrown lawn, not looking back. Far ahead, a low fence marked the edge of the property, leading to a paved road. She scrambled over it, tumbling onto the roadside, her knees burning from the impact. The dim streetlights illuminated an empty stretch of road. In the distance, headlights approached. Ava leapt to her feet, waving frantically. The car slowed to a stop. A middle-aged man rolled down his window. "Are you all right? What are you doing out here at this hour? Please, just take me out of here. Out of this town." Ava's voice broke. He unlocked the door for her, and she climbed in. The car rolled forward, and Ava glanced back through the window. The gates of Allensworth High were shut tight now. No light within. But as the car rounded a corner, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. The notification read, "NightChaser Crew is live now." Her hands trembled. She tapped it. The live stream showed the old classroom, packed with uniformed students. The long-haired girl stood at the podium, smiling crookedly as she held her drum. The camera panned to the back row, where Ava sat, in uniform, eyes black as voids, smiling directly at her through the screen. Ava screamed and hurled the phone to the car floor. The driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "He just told me your name was what?" Ava didn't answer. In the mirror, her reflection wasn't her anymore. It was Ava in an Allensworth High uniform, eyes black and hollow. "I'm a police." Cruiser stopped in front of Allensworth High. Red and blue lights flickered against the cracked grey brick wall. 2 officers stepped out, followed by an ambulance. The initial report came from a man driving down the road. He had given a ride to a young girl who seemed terrified, but when they reached the hospital, she had vanished from the back seat, leaving behind only a phone on the floor. The phone was still streaming a live video on the NightChaser Crew channel. At the station, Lieutenant Mark Holloway, a 20-year veteran of the town, reviewed the footage. It began with a dusty, abandoned classroom. The camera panned slowly across empty desks. But the longer it played, the more the frame shifted. The seats began to fill, one by one, with students in Allensworth High uniforms. Mark zoomed in on a face in the back row. His heartbeat quickened. It was Ava Collins, reported missing just hours ago. Beside her were Ryan, Logan, and Chloe Miller, names that had been on the missing persons list for years. Mark hit pause, but the frame did not freeze. The faces turned toward the camera, locking eyes with him, as if they knew he was watching. The next morning, the official search began. Over 30 officers, K9 units, and volunteers combed every corner of Allensworth High. They found nothing but empty halls, dust-choked classrooms, and the hiss of wind through broken windows. The missing Ryan Carter, Logan Perez, Ethan Ward, and Ava Collins left no trace. What chilled everyone most was an old class photo in the principal's office. Class of 2006. In the back row, alongside the original students, were 4 new faces. Ava, Ryan, Logan, and Ethan. Mark held the photo. His hand was ice cold. He'd seen strange cases before, but nothing like this. Online, the case exploded. The final NightChaser Crew livestream hit over 12 million views in a week. Ghost hunting forums and Facebook groups swarmed with theories. They've been pulled into a time loop. The school is a gateway, and the drumbeat is the key. Ava never existed. She's part of the curse. Some users reposted the video. They pointed out something bizarre. At the 27th minute, when the camera passed the last row, Ava sat in uniform, but still held the phone, still live streaming, filming herself within the frame. 2 weeks later, police got another report. A group of local students had snuck into Allensworth High to film They ran out after 10 minutes, claiming they heard 3 drum beats and saw a long-haired girl in uniform standing in the shadows, smiling. Mark ordered every entrance welded shut and a steel fence erected around the school. But he knew no barrier could stop the drum beats or the new faces that would appear in the class photo. Before sealing the case file, Mark opened his personal laptop and played the video one last time. This time, when the classroom appeared, he saw himself, sitting in the front row in an Allensworth High uniform, eyes empty, 3 drum beats pounded in his headphones. Mark slammed the laptop shut, but the sound kept echoing in the room. A year passed. Allensworth remained outwardly quiet. But stories of the abandoned school never faded. Locals avoided speaking its name, especially after nights when 3 drum beats echoed across the old district. Ava, Ryan, Logan, and Ethan were still on the missing persons list. The case was labeled unsolved and buried in archives. Lieutenant Mark Holloway took early retirement and moved to another state. He wanted to escape the cursed sound, but it followed him into his dreams. On the last Friday of October, former fans of NightChaser Crew received a strange YouTube notification. Live, NightChaser Crew, Allensworth High School channel had been terminated long ago after the disappearances. No one knew how it came back. Viewers flooded in, the counter climbing from hundreds to tens of thousands in minutes. The screen was black, no image, just the hollow echo of an empty room. Then, boom, the first drumbeat comments poured in. "What is this? Who's streaming? I hear footsteps." The second drumbeat sounded lower, closer. A faint light bled into view. A dusty classroom, every desk filled with silent students. The third drumbeat shook the feed. The camera drifted toward the chalkboard, scrawled in white chalk. Class of 2006 attendance. CIOMPLIT. The lens panned. To the back row, there they were. Ava, Ryan, Logan, Ethan in uniform, eyes blank, staring into the camera. But they weren't alone. Beside Ava sat Fong and Vi, the 2 believed to have escaped. They too wore uniforms, with smiles carved stiff across their faces. On the lower right corner, red text blinked. "See you next." Far and away the live stream cut abruptly. YouTube returned to black, but the live tag still pulsed in the corner. Within 2 hours, the video vanished from the platform without explanation. Yet some swore that at exactly 3 a.m. that night, they heard 3 drumbeats outside their own doors. When investigators checked the 2006 class photo in police files, a new detail had appeared. In the front row, among unfamiliar teenage faces, sat an older man in a shirt and tie. Lieutenant Mark Holloway. His smile was identical to everyone else's in the picture.
Thank you for following.